webcasting for a worldwide audience.
Jim? Are you out there? Jim? Yes, Steve. You remember me? 1968? Outside the Marquee Club in London? Night before you played at the Roundhouse. You were drunk. And you fell over. You were in the garbage bins. And my friend John and I, we picked you up. Remember me? I know you're dead and everything, but let's not let that get between us, because, Jim, I'm all grown up now. And I'm hosting like a poetry show with your stuff. The Lords and the New Creatures. I'm doing it at the Westgate Chapel here in Lewes. Same place I'm broadcasting from now. I thought you might like to, bless us or get involved or, contact from the other side. Jim?
The movie will begin in 5 minutes, the mindless voice announced. All those unseated will await the next show. As we seated and were darkened, the voice continued. The program for this evening is not new. You have seen this entertainment through and through. You've seen your birth, your life and death. You might recall all of the rest. Did you have a good world when you died? Enough to base a movie on?
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the Doors.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, now touch me, babe. Can't you see that I am not afraid? What was that promise that you made? Why won't you tell me what she said? What was that promise that you made? Stops the rain. I'm gonna love you till the stars fall from the sky for you and I. Yeah! Can't you see that I am not afraid? What was that promise that you made? Why won't you tell me what she said? What was that promise that you made? I'm gonna love you till the heaven stops the rain.
That was a television audience applause from, I think, 1968. And that's the Doors performing live on the Mike Douglas show, Touch Me Babe, which is kind of slightly atypical Doors, but I like it. And many thanks to Jim for donating it. As I say, I'm doing a Doors hosting for the Ripple, a Doors show, and I've been channeling Jim now for some while, listening to his stuff, reading his poetry, and it's fascinating. And we all know now that the Doors were the kings of the Sunset Strip. In 1967, they were the LA band. Over in San Francisco, you got the Jefferson Airplane, you got the Grateful Dead, Country Joe and the Fish. But the kings of the Sunset Strip, where it was dirty and greasy and hot, was the Doors. Really no good reason why they should have won the Battle of the Bands. The Byrds went for the title with their Dylan rock versions. You had Buffalo Springfield with Stephen Stills and Neil Young, double talent, fronting, terrific band. And the real winners should have been Love, Arthur Lee's band. They were the most popular band on the Sunset Strip in '66. And Elektra Records' favorite act. Unfortunately, Arthur Lee was not consistent and missed dates and missed recording sessions. And so Jack Holtzman at Elektra Records turned his attention to Jim Morrison and the Doors, which was three jazzers. The musicians are just three guys that came straight out of jazz. And a singer that was charismatic, that could roar a bit, that could croon a bit, that could perform a bit, that had studied performance art, and knew a thing or two. And here's the Crystal Ship from their first album.
Interesting with that, yeah.
Once again, live.
Okay. I'm curious. You mentioned the magic word right as we went into the Bee Gees film. You said something about the Doors. What is the favorite song that you have?
Crystal Ship.
It just so happens that that's what they're going to do. So that makes a nice introduction.
It does.
So, ladies and gentlemen, would you please greet the Doors?
Before you slip into unconsciousness, I'd like to have another kiss, another flashing chance at bliss, another kiss, another kiss. The days are bright and filled with pain. Enclose me in your gentle rain. The time you ran was too insane. We'll meet again. We'll meet again. Oh, tell me where your freedom lies. The streets are fields that never die. Deliver me from reasons why you'd rather cry. I'd rather fly. The crystal ship is being filled. 1,000 girls, 1,000 thrills, 1,000,000
John, you want to come down and join us for a half second? That's a beautiful thing. Gentlemen, may I...
So I'm going to stop it there because you need some context. We're on the Dick Clark Show. It's 1967, and the Doors have just exploded onto the scene from nowhere with Light My Fire. And Dick is just about to interview the band, which is quite funny, and the usual kind of diffident Morrison gets off the best lines, as you would imagine. And then they're going to go into a version of Light My Fire, which is distinctly different from the single. Jim was obviously in crooner mode, and I really love his vocal version of this, which is, as I say, different from the record.
I ask a favor. Would you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Robbie.
Thank you.
John.
Thank you, John.
My name is Jim Morrison.
Jim, thank you.
Ray Manzarek.
Ray, let me start with you in a question, if I may. How do you characterize your music? Does it have a name?
Well, it's impossible, really, to put a label on it because of where we are in the music. Being on the inside, you're only of the music, and all categories have to come from the outside. So someone else is going to have to say what our music is rather than us, because we are our music.
Too much in it at the moment. Now, a lot of people seem to think you're from San Francisco. Is that true?
No, actually, we got together in L.A., but we play in San Francisco a lot.
That's the explanation of why you have that association. Why is so much happening in San Francisco? You figured it out yet?
The West is the best.
All right, fair enough. You sold many, many albums before you sold a single record. It's a phenomenal record success all around, the album and the single. How long did it take to make that first album?
About a month.
That's a relatively short time in this day and age, isn't it?
Yeah. We're in the middle of our second album now and trying to top the first one.
You told me, though, that it took you about a year to accumulate everything and put it all together. We leap up here. Future plans. Somebody mentioned you're going somewhere.
Yeah, we're going to go to England, and our new album should be out about September.
Have you selected a name for the album yet, Jay?
I think it's going to Strange Days.
All right, fair enough. John, why don't you make yourself comfortable up here, and we'll do the thing that set the whole music business on fire. Ladies and gentlemen, again, The Doors.
You know that it would be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire. The time to hesitate is through. No time to wallow in the mire. Try now, we can only lose, and our love become a funeral pyre. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire. The time to hesitate is through. No time to wallow in the mire. Try now, we can only lose, and our love become a funeral pyre. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire. Say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the
Wow. That's beautiful. And what's left of the Doors? Not much. A few filmed live performances and a few oddities like the film of the Doors starring Val Kilmer, which honestly I just couldn't watch. I mean, I got about halfway through it. I'm not an Oliver Stone fan. I was like, this is just weird. This is just Val Kilmer enjoying himself, pretending to be Jim Morrison. If I want to see Val Kilmer as a rock singer, I'll watch him do Elvis in Top Secret. That's fun. If you really want to get a Doors feel out of a film, you need to see something like Dawn Till Dusk by Robert Rodriguez, because that's sick. And, it's the Titty Twister Bar, but all along, it was an Aztec temple. All makes perfect sense, because Morrison had a kind of more or less cohesive vision, really, which is that Mesoamerica, the Aztec culture and the Mayan culture had somehow just spread across the border and inhabited the youths of California. And under Morrison's watch, it's l'Amérique.
Teach you how to find yourself, l'America.
know the warm progress under the stars? Do you know we exist? Have you forgotten the keys to the kingdom? Have you been born yet, and are you alive? Let's reinvent the gods, all the myths of the ages. Celebrate symbols from deep elder forests. Have you forgotten the lessons of the ancient war? We need great golden copulations. The fathers are cackling in trees of the forest. Our mother is dead in the sea. You know we are being led to slaughters by placid admirals, and that fat, slow generals are getting obscene on young blood. You know we are ruled by TV. The moon is a dry blood beast. Guerrilla bands are rolling numbers in the next block of green vine, amassing for warfare on innocent herdsmen who are just dying. O great creator of being, grant us one more hour to perform our art and perfect our lives. The moths and atheists are doubly divine and dying. We live, we die, and death not ends it. Journey we more into the nightmare, cling to life, our passion flower, cling to cunts and cocks of despair. We got our final vision by clap. Columbus's groin got filled with green death. I touched her thigh and death smiled. We have assembled inside this ancient and insane theater to propagate our lust for life and flee the swarming wisdom of the streets. The barns are stormed, the windows kept, and only one of all the rest to dance and save us with the divine mockery of words. Music inflames temperament. True kings' murderers are allowed to roam free. 1,000 magicians arise in the land. Where are the feasts we were promised? Where is the wine, the new wine, dying on the vine?
I want to tell you about Texas radio and the big beat. Comes out of the Virginia swamps, cool and slow with money and precision. And the backbeat narrow and hard to master. Some call it heavenly in its brilliance, others mean and rueful of the Western dream. I love the friends I have gathered together in this thin route. We have constructed pyramids in honor of our escaping. This is the land where the Pharaoh died. Negroes in the forest, brightly feathered, they are saying, forget the night, live with us in forests of azure. Out here in the perimeter there are no stars. Out here we is stone, immaculate. Now listen to this, I'll tell you about the heartache. I'll tell you about the heartache and the loss of God. I'll tell you about the hopeless night, the meager food for souls forgot. I'll tell you about the maiden with wrought iron soul. I'll tell you this, no eternal reward will forgive us now for wasting the dawn. Tell you about Texas radio and a big beat. Soft-driven, slow and mad like some new language.
So, Jim, still working in his own weird way. Those three pieces, cohesive, powerful. One of them done after his death, the middle one, with where he speaks of poetry. He'd recorded poetry in the studio, and then after he died, Ray Manzarek and the other Doors got together and put backing to it. I actually like that very, very much. I think that's very, very interesting. Taking a dead poet's work and weaving it into the canon of his living work. It's great. But one of the problems for a band like the Doors, having such a signature style, was very easy to parody. And unintentionally, a number of people have done it over the years. I'm not naming the Stranglers. I'm not saying that the Stranglers ever tried to sound like the Doors, even though it's completely obvious that they did on many of their better records. But God bless them for doing so. But a few years back, a comedian in America called Jimmy Fallon was running The Tonight Show, and he did a very amusing and I think really very solid piece of work, which is he took the theme from an American kids show called Reading Rainbow, which is a show that public broadcast television in America, which teaches children how to read. And he formed a band that looked uncannily like the Doors. He wore a wig and did a brilliant impersonation of Morrison. And so this is the fake Doors doing the Reading Rainbow theme. I hope you like it.
Take a look, it's in a book.
the Indian in the cupboard. There's a monster. There's a monster at the end of this book. Good night, moon. Good night, star. Good night, air. Good night, noises everywhere. Well, there's a rocket in my pocket and a horn hear the hoot of very hungry caterpillars on the loose. Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book. A reading rainbow, a reading rainbow, a reading rainbow, a reading rainbow, yeah! See you later!
Yeah, and then there's Pearl Jam doing Break On Through to the Other Side, which is in here somewhere. Jim, have we got that? Do you mind? Jim, is it okay if we play the...
Scott Gordon on the harmonica.
Night divides the day.
Well, everybody's having a go at being the Doors, so why not Joan Jett? Yeah, love me two-time babe. Man, I could get in on this Doors cover thing. I just love the band. But I'm not going to, ruin your listening pleasure by just sitting here singing Doors material, as much fun as that would be. Instead, I'm going to play you what might have happened if Jim had met Debbie. Debbie Harry must be around the same age that Jim would have been if he'd lived. They were contemporaries, although she was working in the Playboy Club in New York in the 60s, while Jim was the Lizard King and the West is the Best Man. But if they had got together, maybe if Jim had lived and into the 70s, maybe they would have made a record that sounded like this.
concert.
But Jim was not without controversy. One remembers the concert in Florida where Jim was arrested on stage, allegedly for showing his willy in front of a large audience. And that, as far as I know, would have been a first. However, for a rock star, I don't think many rock stars have willied out on stage. Although I understand that some young women performers have breasted out on stage, which is, I don't know. And some not so young women performers, like Madonna, who still imagines that she is a young woman performer, but even sort of parodies it as though she is knowing that she's not a young woman performer, and yet still being allowed to act like a young woman performer. My advice to Madonna, have a rest, love. Anyway, here's Hyacinth House. Oh, no, sorry. Because I was so keen to do a gag on Madonna, I didn't mention the point about the Willie on stage story, because apparently the real truth is that he didn't actually take his willy out. He did the classic old school trick of putting his hand inside his leather trousers and sticking his thumb out of the zip. Think about that while you listen to the Hyacinth House.
What are they doing
Speaking of the end, Francis Ford Coppola kind of made a whole movie around that. The movie of Apocalypse Now leads inexorably towards the Doors music track, which that song, The End, is allowed to run for a good 10 or 12 minutes there, while Martin Sheen searches for Marlon Brando. He's going to kill him. That's right. Martin Sheen is an assassin, and he's camouflaged his face, and he's got a knife between his teeth, and he's going through the water to kill Marlon Brando. Rest of the film, well, decent, but that ending, boy, the end. Don't worry, we're not quite at the end of the show yet.
My gang will get you.
Still got time for, more of this.
Scenes of rape in the Arroyo. Seductions in cars, abandoned buildings. Fights at the food stand. Dust. The shoes. Open shirts and raised collars. Bright sculptured hair. Come on, I'll show you a good time. This place has everything. Come on, I'll show you.
Jim? Jim? You still there? Hey, Jim. It's just people shouting in the street, and anyway, this has been a very odd show because it started as one thing and it seems to be finishing as another, because now I feel all the doors are open. I can go to the Crystal Ship. I can break on through to the other side. I can do that two-time love. I can be Latino Chrome. I can make curses and invocations. I can ride the rapture. And you know what? I love it. Now that I'm living back in town again, when the cars hiss by my window. Good night. God bless. See you at the Westgate. September the 13th. It's Friday the 13th. Lucky for some.
The cars hiss by my window like the waves down on the beach. The cars hiss by my window like the waves down on the beach. I got this girl beside me, but she's out of reach. Headlight through my window, shining on the wall. light through my window, shining on the wall. Can't hear my baby, though I call and call. Windows started trembling with a sonic boom. Windows started trembling with a sonic boom. Boom. A cold girl'll kill you in a darkened room.
Radio Lewes. Local webcasting for a worldwide audience.